Newsfirst, face to face with Shalan Benedict.
Hello there, very good evening. Welcome to another edition of Face to Face. We apologize for the slight delay, but that is, of course, because there is such a massive traffic block, of course, here in Colombo, and our guests have been finding it a little bit difficult to make it here in time. Mr. Nanayakkara, of course, who's joining us on the program today, managed to make it just at the nick of time. A very good evening, Mr. Nanayakkara. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. I'm still trying to compose myself for an interview. You know, it was very stressful being stuck for like hooting and madness. Okay, I'm ready.
Well, Mr. Nanayakkara, of course, the situation on the streets, is a dark reminder of what times were maybe about 2 years ago. This time, of course, not for the same reason. There's a foreign dignitary in Sri Lanka, and several roads in Colombo have been closed down. So if any of our viewers are at this point of time planning on maybe heading out somewhere in Colombo, maybe for an event, maybe to get some food, we strongly advise you to, first take a look at how the street is in front of your home. Is at the verge of a massive change. People were calling for change from some time ago, back in 2021, 2022, but we haven't really had an election. Now we're at the cusp of an election, and then we see these promises going out, and one of these very favorite promises or slogans is justice for the victims of the April 21st attack. This has been sold over and over again at many elections, at the previous presidential election, at the general election, and now again political parties are trying to kind of sell this, what some people might describe as a carrot, but this is the real life experience of many people. Newsfirst, we did a coverage on the Easter attack about this little girl from the Zion Church who lost both her father and her mother. The only remaining family she has is her brother, and she herself is blind in both eyes because of this. So for these people, the jokes that some of these politicians try to make regarding the Easter Sunday attack and the abysmal state of the justice system in as far as delivering justice to these victims is just appalling. And do you think that this is just another promise this time around on the political stage that, you know, people should not give too much regard to?
Well, I mean, it's a huge question, because before I focus on the East attack, let me talk in general as to what the ailment of our system is. That is lack of rule of law. It is nothing new. It has been there for the last few decades. We had a corrupt political culture where certain politicians are above the law. Actually, most politicians are above the law. The law does not apply to them. How many times have we heard of situations where the powerful and the rich escapes the law, others don't? Now, in that context, yes, justice seems to be an expensive commodity only within the reach of the rich and the powerful, right? Not for the poor guy on the street. So implementing rule of law is one of the main things the NPP has been saying as a slogan. But the East attack, sir, was never a slogan for us. It was never a slogan.
Okay.
What we say is that rule of law, establishing, fighting out corruption, and this political culture which is corrupt and wasteful, that has been our slogan ever since.
Okay.
But justice to Easter victims has never been a political slogan for us. What we simply pointed out, not just us, even at the time when the thing happened, just before Gotabaya came into power, what did our leader Anuruddha Sanayak and we said? We did not see who was setting the trap gun. But when somebody is carrying the kill for their benefit, we could have figured out, we could have guessed who it was. Now 3 years have lapsed. I'm sure everybody would have seen His Eminence the Cardinal's speech, what he said for half or 20 minutes. I mean, that 20 minutes is a serious indictment on our entire system of justice and what has happened. It's a serious indictment on Gotabaya Rajapaksa, where His Eminence, not me. So what we did was, right, we just extended our policy of rule of law and establishing it. Because everybody's throwing around promises, right? Promise politics, rise from the moon. Now again, even in 2000, that was way back in 1972. Then JR and giving some grain at Tata. Food promises. Now again, today we see that distributing 20 kilos of rice for the school children and etc. So these false promises is a part of this political culture which we are trying to change. The written pledge, what we gave, running up to 7 points, was actually our plan for the bigger system of justice. When we come into power, there's a certain way we want the law and order to be established, because you cannot even get out of an economic mess unless you establish rule of law first, right? So what we did was, so I want to clarify, for us, justice to victims of the East attack is not a political slogan.
Okay.
It is a promise that we are giving on our policy of doing justice to everybody, because especially when we know that there's a political group behind this, when His Eminence says so, for someone to come to power, and how he went back on that promise after he came into power. So now we have given a written pledge, the best we can do, of what we are trying to do, and when we are in power.
Well, since the 21st of April was just a few days ago, the SJB has also put out their plan on how they plan on addressing the Easter Sunday attack incident, how they are planning on bringing justice to victims. They've proposed for a special presidential committee to be appointed with several foreign judges, Sri Lankan judges, to ensure transparency, get the support of various international organizations for the investigations. They've really drawn up a detailed plan and not just presented a pledge. Do you believe that your pledge is, a better plan for what should be done or to bring justice to these victims? Well, better than the SJB's
Well, it's
plan?
Not what is better. It is who's going to do it is the question, right? When in our pledge, you would have seen it, that one of the independent commissions to investigate uninvestigated amounts, because everybody feels that some parts of the investigation are not being done. So we are not planning to do it like from scratch, no. But there are some loose ends that need to be tightened, because some of them are not even in the country. We have given a pledge even to get them down to the country, right? So it's not about which one is better, who's going to do it. Now let me tell you, if people want to believe SJB is going to do what they're promising, by all means that's up to the people. But let's look at the past. During this attack, where was the SJB? They were in the same government that failed to prevent the attack. And who was the Minister of Police or Public Administration at that time? Ranjit Madhum Bandara of the current General Secretary of the SJB. And the FR matters that were filed, even Sajid Premadas is a respondent for failing to prevent as a part of the cabinet. Of course, there were no finding against him in these cases so far, right? But they were part of the apparatus that failed the people. So it's not who has a better plan. It's more about who's going to actually do it. Remember, national people's power, from the word go we say. We have no criminals with us. We have no dishonest people with us. There's no need for us to cover up anyone. But look at the list of the respondents in that. Right? There are Naveens, there are Harins, there are Harrisons, and then you look at the SJB lot. All right? So what I'm saying is, yeah, people want to believe. But before you start believing, just look at the past. SJB was part of the government that failed. And Sajid Premadasa was the deputy leader, a strong cabinet minister. And we did not even hear a condemnation or a threat to resign from the cabinet if they're not doing the investigation properly. We heard nothing. But suddenly, 5 years later, they have woken up. It's okay. Even if they are going to deliver justice to the victims, great. Even I'll support it. But will they?
Well, speaking about doing things in this country, what's really happening to the debate that was so much spoken of between, the SJB and the NPP? I say this because now apparently there are two forms of debate, one between the two leaders and the other between the two economic councils. Based on the communications that have been exchanged between the SJB and the NPP, what's at least evident prima facie to me is the fact that the SJB really wants a debate between the Economic Council of the SJB and the Economic Council of the NPP, and the NPP really wants a debate between the leader of the NPP and the leader of the SJB, and neither party wants to compromise and give the other party the debate that they want first.
Thank you for asking that question, because all this has been going in the media for a while. The first person to raise this way back in 2022 towards the end was me. In one of our asana, seat conferences, electoral meetings, where Comrade Andhra was also on stage. At that time, Sajid Premadasa was on a run saying, only I know how to develop the country, I am a powerful man, the red ones don't know anything and all that stuff. On that moment I said, why don't you, on stage I said, without even checking with Andhra, I said that at that point. I said, why don't you come for a debate with Andhra? Then I looked at him because I did not even ask him before I said it. Then he shook his head, so I continued the rest of the sentence. I said, in Tabuttegama, this was in 2022, right? To come for this debate. So that was the first instance of invitation. Then somewhere in 2023, January, I believe one of the TV programs, I believe Hiru, mentioned my name also and asked, are you ready for the debate? This 2023, January. And Andhra said, yes, come, I'm ready. So which one that came first was for a debate with the leader of the NPP, not with the economic councils. Then somewhere around 2024, suddenly they feel they can't send Sajid Premadasa on his own. So let's have a diversion. Let's call for economic council debate because they don't have one. That's what they say, right? And we said, okay, we agree for that also. But however this, first you reply to what we said about Sajid and let Sajid tell us whether he's going to come or not. Whether he's too busy or whether he's sick and he doesn't want to come. And when he declines our invitation to meet Anura one-on-one, then the second round, by all means we are ready for the Economic Council meeting. But what the SJP is trying to do, they are trying to say we are the ones who challenge you first to the Economic Council meeting and you asking Sajid to come. And we are willing to send our Economic Council, but remember this challenge started in 2022. And 2023, we were the first who said come. And the next thing that is going to come is a presidential election. So the leaders of the parties must come before and convince the people what they are capable of.
So but do these semantics really matter, you know, who challenged us first, which debate should be held first? I mean, if both of them are going to be held, then what's really the difference?
We are ready. So that's why we told Sajid Premadasa, first you decline our one saying you're not coming. Then we will come for the Economic Council meeting. Now what has happened? We sent a letter suggesting 5 different dates in the month of May because he wanted to meet us in month of May. At least that's what whenever he addressed school children, you know, Sajid Premadasa addresses school children and tell all his political plans. So I saw him at a meeting in one of the schools talking to children and saying that he's willing to meet us in May. So thereafter we sent 5 days in May with a letter saying come. We are waiting for a reply. If those days are not suitable, let them write and tell us the date suitable for them, or simply say, I'm sorry, I'm too much of a coward, I can't face Anura, so I'm not coming. Please send us the Economic Council.
They've sent you a reply, and in their reply they've detailed, they've presented certain details about the debates between the Economic Council and asked the NPP as to if or not you are willing to hold this debate.
We have already said we are willing, but first Sajid must decline saying he's not going to face us. Then we will give the Economic Council.
But then do these semantics really matter?
It does matter because you know why? We want to show Sajid Premadasa on stage. Now he is a serious candidate for becoming president.
So, but why don't you just have the Economic Council debate first and then go into the debate with the leaders?
So why don't we do it the other way around? First, why don't Sajid say that he's not going to come because he's a little too scared to come, right? First, let him admit that he is not suitable. And then let his Economic Council come. And you know, the other one, there's another one I want to tell you. The Economic Council is Harsha and Iran and them. No. Let's see, closer to the election, where they are going to be. Then with whom are we going to argue then?
Well, interesting matters, a lot of allegations. The dates haven't been set, of course, for the debate. There's much more to discuss as well, but we will cross over to a short commercial break and be right back after a bit. Don't go anywhere, you're watching Face to Face.
Newsfirst, face to face with Shalan Benedict.
Fulfill your dream of studying in the UK.
Singharaja, Sri Lanka's precious world heritage.
Fulfill your dream of studying in the UK.
අර කියනවත් වගේ ළමයින්ගේ අම්මලා තාත්තලා ඡන්දෙ දුන්නොත් මෙයා උඩින්ම දිනනවා.
ඒ නැතත් එයා පරදින්නේ. එයාට තියෙන මනුස්සකම් වල හැටියට එයා පෙරදුනත් ආයි දිනන්න කෙනෙකුත් නැහැ.
දැන් ඔය කියන හැටියට තමුසේගේ මණ්ඩල දෙන්න කොයි වෙලාවකරි මම මරන්න බැරි කමකුත් නැහැ නේ.
ලබන සතියේ සිකුරාදා වෙන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා මම පොලිසියට බදරුනොත් අක්කගේ දුවට තාත්තා වගේම අම්මත් නැති වෙනවා කියන එක ඔයා මතක තියාගන්න ඕනිය.
කියා දෙන්න ආදරේ තරම් අද රාත්‍රී 8:30ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්.
Fulfill your dream of studying in the UK.
Newsfirst, face to face with Shalan Benedict.
Welcome back. You're watching Face to Face. We're in discussion with attorney at law Harshana Nanayakkara, member of the Executive Council of the National People's Power Movement. Harshana, I don't mean to waste too much time on discussing about this debate that is to be held. Hopefully something materializes out of it, because we've talked about it so much and spent so much of public airtime of the general public to really present details about this matter. But one of the allegations that the SJB is throwing towards the NPP with regard to the NPP's unwillingness to have the debate between the economic councils first is the fact that the NPP does not really have a stable economic policy, and what is understood as the JVP element of the NPP cannot sit together with the rest of the parties or the rest of the organizations in the coalition, individuals like Harshana Nanayakkara and Amarasuriya, and of course speak about the same economic policy facing the Economic Council of the SJB. That's what they say, that you're not on the same page.
Right. No, I mean, they do have to make up a story like that, because they can't admit the truth that we who have a policy. If you look at, I'm not going to mention names because nobody's here, but the economic think tank of the SJB and individuals who have been saying they're always trying to create a monster, right? They're talking about the Russian model, the Chinese model, socialism. That's what these people are, so therefore just be wary of them. So I invite people to look at the 2019 policy we put out. There's economic policy. Then 2022 we put out economic policy.
Now these are all available on your website, are they?
They are there. These are published documents. Okay. They are available, right? In none of those economic policies or the entire policy document, anything resembling Chinese models or Russian models are with us. But they have to make up that story, because the only way they can make the Colombo people scared is to say that these fellows are socialists, so be careful of them. Now there's an addition to that story. What? The NPP and the JP at logheads with the economic policy. Again, another load of, I would say, very respectfully, rubbish. Because NPP, the main organization, with the JP is a formidable partner of, we have agreed on a policy. Our policy is already written and ready. We are waiting for the election to come to put it out. Not just the economic policy, transport, education, health, and the full works, right? So when the election comes, we will put it out. There's absolutely no conflict. We are already in agreement what we want to do. And in fact, under this Hanayaka, how many conferences he held for the business community and the banking and finance forums, right? But some people of the SJB, right, there are people who take bits and pieces and try to misrepresent us, right? So they have to spread the story. Otherwise, you know what is SJB's economic policy? I've heard many times Dr. Harshana Nanayakkara saying that there's not much difference between the UMP economic plan and theirs. The only thing is he's giving some social humane face or something that Sajid does, apparently, right? So I don't know where this delivering buses fit into that economic plan, but nevertheless they do that also. What I'm saying is let them make up their stories, right? The truth is we do have economic council, and on many instances our economic council members come into the public and speak. But SJB would like to say that we don't have one, and that's why we're not coming for the debate. Let's get back to it. We are willing. Economic councils are willing. First, let Sajid say he's not man enough to face Anura. Let him admit it first. And then we will send our economic council. No problem. We have the best economists that no one can match in these parties.
But Mr. Nanayakkara, at the end of the day, the reality of the situation is that something has to give. And is there any chance that the NPP would compromise? Something has to give.
No,
Someone has to give.
Well, we are giving in, aren't we? We are saying, yes, you are. We are giving in, aren't we?
You're not giving in.
No. What I'm trying to say is, why is it so difficult for Sajid Premadasa to accept?
No, but
he's scared. Let him accept it first.
That's another allegation. Again, of course,
let him accept
he's not
it
present here. There is no representation for
I'm
the
sorry, I will
SJB,
take it back.
so
I will take it back. I do apologize.
No, but what I'm really saying is, at the end of the day, just to bring this to a finality, at the end of the day, the reality of the matter is, if these supposed debates are to happen at all, one of the political parties must come and say, okay, we'll do the debate that you guys want first. Who do you think that will be?
I think we can say that also, provided let them admit first they are not going to come and face
no conditions attached. All right, Mr.
We
Nanayakkara,
challenge first, right? But having said that, yes, economic councils can do up. And the SJB, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be talking too much about them because they're not even here. But without letting anybody, let me tell, we challenged. Because it's a presidential election that's going to come around the corner. And as you can see, even America, England, is the leaders who come and argue first, debate first. So if you can't come, it's perfectly all right. We gave the date. If you can't come, just say, I'm not coming for these reasons. Or don't give a reason. Say, I'm simply not willing to meet Anura. Then the Economic Council can start. But first let them answer this question. Are you coming or not? We send the dates. And we are waiting.
Well, moving on to something that's grappling the political landscape here in Sri Lanka, not for the first time. We've always seen how political parties kind of implode on themselves. But the allegation that's swinging around these days is the fact that there is a governmental effort, or some of the main political parties are in an effort to destroy other political parties in Sri Lanka. I think the prime example, of course, being the Sri Lanka Freedom Party. Do you think there is actually a threat to the political fabric of Sri Lanka, because it's through a political party system that we operate, and of course, as much as many Sri Lankans would not really prefer this system, it's the only system that we have. And if there is an element going about and destroying this system, that is a serious risk to the fabric of society. So what's the NPP's take on the situation here?
Well, yes. I mean, as you know, that the political scene is, it's really going through a lot of shakes and bouncing and all over the place, except for the NPP. Now, what's happening with SLFP? What's happening with SLPP? What's happening with UMP? What's happening with SJB?
What's happening with the SJB?
We'll come to this. Since there's no one here, let me leave them behind. I'm just answering your question. Right? What has happened is not that the government making any effort to... We need the political parties. We need the democratic system, the party politics system. That's the one we have. I'm not saying that's the best system, but out of the things we have, this seems to be the best, democracy and parties. So therefore, I don't think the government is trying to, destroy all the other parties. But what they're trying to do is, I feel, Ranil want to be the next presidential candidate from a common symbol of sorts. And the UMP is nothing much at a ground level. So therefore he's trying to get the support of everybody, and he will take SJB MPs in, he will take SLFP MPs in. So basically right now what is happening with SLPP, SLFP and SJB and UMP camps is that they're trying to survive. They're trying to survive without sinking with the coming electoral tsunami, because things are going to change. Things are going to change for the first time, and it's going to be a drastic change. Very drastic change. What Daragale asked for, a new start, a brand new start. So when that's happening, the boat is sinking, people are, Chandrika is going to court to prevent Maitri from functioning. Vijayadasa Rajapaksa, while serving a minister here, want to be the leader of the SLFP. Today I was reading this editorial, I believe in Daily Mirror. It says some historical, from literature they have taken, someone saying, before a country gets destroyed, or before people get destroyed or dead, first they go mad, apparently. Right? I saw it somewhere. So right now what you're saying is political madness, simply because they are sinking an NPP without any hullabaloo. We are on course. We are talking to people and we are organizing ourselves. So I believe what you're seeing is the panic setting into all the other camps of our achievements. That's what I feel. Not that.
But the NPP goes through a lot of effort to kind of distance themselves from who's been governing Sri Lanka for the longest time, and of course your opponents try to tie you down and say that you were part of it, but. At the end of the day, you were a part of the political system in our country, and there have been certain instances where you did hold ministerial positions. There have been instances when you supported candidates, supported common candidates, supported Mahinda Rajapaksa at a time. So, can you really say that we're completely out of it?
Well, let me put it
Our
this way.
hands are clean.
No. Basically, it's like this. I think it's a very valid point. The JVP at that time, there was no NPP.
Yes.
The JVP in the past, I mean, they were the ones who formed the Bulat Kole and brought Mahinda to power. There was a reason for it. Because we had to prevent Ranil from signing Tsunami Executive Council. I mean, there were issues. I mean, I'm not going to go one by one. But when they were holding ministerial portfolios, even for a short period of time in Chandrika's government, they performed well. Agriculture ministry, they performed well and gave. Being in the driving seat to drive a country, being a passenger are two matters. What I'm saying is, yes, we were part of Chandrika's government for a short while. So we were responsible Mahinda, but we brought them into power and worked with them and left them, right, when they were not delivering the promises they gave us, being a part of it. We are the only party who even gave up minister portfolios, had walked out after 14 months from Chandrika's government because she was not, delivering what she promised. So, yes, they made some decisions. When you look at them from 2024, they might look a little wrong, but at that time they thought they were the best decisions. What I'm trying to say is, are there any allegations of us breaking the law or being involved in any corrupt or wasteful activity while our fellows were holding office? The answer would be no. And we were not in the passenger seat. And then we left those governments because we felt exactly they were not delivering. So I think we have the moral right to say, yes, we are not responsible for this mess the country is going through right now. Waste and corruption was never us, even though we were, for temporary periods, part of ruling regimes. If that is the case, they should tell what we have done wrong. Except for going back to 88 and 89.
Well, of course, the general public will get an opportunity to decide on who they want to govern and shape the future of this country for their sake, for the sake of their children, and for the sake of generations to come in Sri Lanka. And after 75 years of independence, for once, it's prime time that we make a right decision, and that right decision rests with the general public at the next election. Thank you very much, Attorney at Law Harshana Nanayakkara, member of the Executive Council of the National People's Power, for joining us on our program this evening.
Thank you very much for having me, Shalan.
Thank you very much for taking that very arduous drive to the studios today, given the traffic and the rain. Thank you very much to all our viewers out there for tuning in to another episode of Face to Face. Until we meet again, take care and God bless.